TwitchCon 2025 has recently received a deserved amount of negative press after popular streamer Emiru
Hi, I'm Emmy. Welcome to my channel.
Was assaulted by a disgusting man. The assailant approached Emiru during her fan meet and greet event, while she was about to take a picture with one of her fans. The young streamer was quickly blindsided by the big brute as he grabbed Emiru's face and forced her to kiss him. Only after the deed had been done did security finally do their job and separate the sicko from the streamer. Unfortunately, as can be seen in her response video after the fact, the incident left its mark on Emiru, who was understandably shaken.
And he's like, no, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Why am I having to tell the TwitchCon attendees and my fans, sorry you had to see that, and not someone from Twitch or Twitch security? Anyway.
Part of what has likely contributed to her fear and anxiety is the fact that the assaulter was able to simply walk away with no immediate repercussions after committing this crime. So it's quite understandable that the victim of said crime, Emiru, is completely livid.
Why am I the person who has to do this? Anyway.
Not only from having experienced a situation in which she was forced to do something against her will, but also due to the fact that her attacker was not instantly punished for his crime and was still out there, potentially free to do the same thing to anyone else. The creep was only pursued until after Emiru insisted that actions be taken.
I've contacted the police. They're gonna come talk to you about pressing charges, etc. They're trying to find the guy. They haven't found him. I'm like, what? Anyway.
Emiru is attempting to press further charges, completely independent of Twitch's legal recourse, which might as well be nothing. She likely understood that Twitch felt no real remorse nor responsibility for her safety and well-being.
I genuinely think there have been other people who have been sexually assaulted, groped, who fucking knows, worse, at these conventions, and just nobody knows. Because like I said, they didn't post any kind of announcement, weren't letting other streamers with similar events as me, similar meet and greets know, until there was a viral clip.
The attack may have only lasted for a few seconds, but that's already too much time.
That's another thing. I could have fucking died yesterday.
And this is not an unreasonable thought for someone who has had their personal space truly violated in a location in which personal safety is the last thing someone wants to be worrying about.
But why do I have to worry about that happening at the convention for the place that I work?
In those instances when adrenaline spikes and fight, flight, or freeze kicks in, time slows down to an uncomfortable rate. Those few seconds then feel like an eternity, thus creating a new nightmare that will repeat in your memory for the rest of one's life. Luckily, there are ways to work past trauma, and some can come out of the whole experience ultimately stronger. However, that could be a long and unpleasant journey, one that Emiru certainly didn't sign up for. But armchair psychology aside, the fact still remains that Twitch's clear disinterest in actually safeguarding the well-being of their content creators has been put on full display.
And I start screaming. You can't hear it in the clip, but I'm fucking screaming my head off. And then my security, Twitch's security is nowhere near me, nowhere to be found. I can see them, but they don't do anything. My security jumps up and shoves the guy away from me and is like, get the fuck out of here. And he's allowed to walk away and leave.
Have you ever noticed how so many Hollywood celebrities, especially the females, always have a litany of personal bodyguards when attending public events? Well, it's to prevent potential assaults, just like what happened to Emiru, and ensure the safety of the extremely popular celebrities. Because there are unfortunately some seriously mentally ill individuals that feel entitled to their favorite, or sometimes least favorite, celebrity. This entitlement can manifest in several different ways, none of which are ever really pleasant for said celebrity. And with the growing rise of the internet celebrity, as well as the recent assassination of a particularly prominent internet personality, Twitch should be taking absolutely no shortcuts when it comes to safety. Emiru is one of the platform's most popular creators, with nearly 2 million followers. Hence, you would expect that someone as prominent as herself within the online ecosphere would be first to receive at least the bare minimum of security measures. But, as was previously stated, it was in fact Emiru's own personal security that came to her rescue. Consequently, she brings up some very valid questions. What if this had happened to someone without the means to hire personal security? What if this has already happened? Trust and Twitch have never been words you would associate with each other, but now they are practically antonyms. Twitch's own owner made it clear that they don't actually care about safety, as Dan Clancy pushes the blame onto Emiru during what was almost certainly a pre-planned interview. Self-preservation is an inherent survival instinct, one that all of man has every right to and should never feel ashamed of desiring. However, when self-preservation skips human safety and instead leans toward protecting institutions and egos, criminal activity is allowed to harm the individual. In doing so, you have effectively taken away what should be that individual's God-given right to live a peaceful existence. False flags utilizing simple labels, such as misogyny and the patriarchy, have been used for far too long as a means of muddying up the argument. But the reality of the situation is far more complicated than that. Every human is capable of unspeakable evils if properly manipulated. To subscribe that evil to a single person or phrase distracts from the matter at hand and hinders society's ability to address the real problem. And one of the first things we can do to grow as a society is to expose Twitch's malpractices, come to agreeable consensus on something as egregious as sexual assault, and prevent the company from continuing to spread their lies. Most importantly, don't allow the Emiru attack to become just another statistic.